Welcome to Mind and Your Business with me, Monie Wilder, the podcast I wish I would have had when I started my career. As a mom and top producing real estate agent with close to 1,000 homes sold in under 8 years, I'll be diving into the mindset and strategies of how to create your business so that it authentically complements your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hi guys, it's Monie and welcome to Mind and Your Business. I just decided to name this podcast in this moment. So that's the name. We have to go with a name, so we're going to start. So this is probably the first time that maybe we're interacting, that you're listening to this, and I want to thank you for that. What is this all about? Who am I? So I want to start there. So I am a real estate agent, real estate broker in Phoenix, and I have just started my 7th year selling homes. And I've sold, give or take, around 700 homes in the last 7 years. And really a lot of that happened in the last 3 years of my career. And a lot of it came from me really focusing on like my mindset and who I am and getting clear on who I am and aware of how I am. And as I did those things and did that work, all of a sudden my business started to flow and get easier. So the concept behind this podcast and the reason that I think, if you're in real estate or in mortgage or in any type of sales that you want to probably listen to this is because I'm going to just share like what I've learned. And it's going to be a lot of conversations, sometimes just with me like today. And then sometimes it's going to be talking to people that have helped and mentored me along the way. To get to where I'm at and where I'm going. Like I'm still trying to grow this thing. I'm still trying to like get a handle on what I want my business to be. So this will also be like us going on that journey-ish together. So consider this a weekly conversation about how is it that you can get more connected with who you are, more connected with what is authentically making you tick and makes you happy, and then make that connection with how you can help grow your business through that type of self-discovery and honesty and all that stuff. So today, since it's like almost New Year's, I have been doing a lot of just reflecting. And this past year has been the hardest year I've had in my real estate career so far. And again, this is only starting my 7th year. So it's not like I've been like, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years and this is the worst, but it was pretty hard. And I'm a big believer in like reflecting. I'm a big believer in like evaluating and, taking a look at things. And what came to me the other day was like, hey, I've learned some things this year. So, through difficulty, through a lot of struggle, that has been a result of just a really just like shit real estate market, at least in Phoenix and across the country, related to the interest rates, being what they have been as the primary driver of why it's been so tough. Through all of that, though, I have like discovered a few things that I think are like important for me to remember. So I want to have us documented here. So here we are, we're documenting it. But also, if you're listening and you've also had this, tough year, either in real estate or in mortgage or, whatever realm you're at. And maybe it's not this year that's been tough, maybe a different year. But, I think these lessons and these different concepts are just important to kind of like have in your back pocket. And honestly, even if this coming year is like your best year yet, also important to still like have their tools that you can pull upon. So like, let's have that conversation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I pinpointed 5 things that I've learned in my hardest year of real estate. So the first one, when I talk about like overwhelm and what overwhelm means and what you should do if you're feeling overwhelmed. So yes, myself and my team, I do have a team, a very small team, a very badass dynamic team of, all women, just kill it. And we've killed it this year, despite it being a hard year. But we've encountered a lot of moments of overwhelm. And I think we've all been there before, like that feeling of like, I'm drinking from a fire hose, yet I don't really feel like I'm making progress. So then your instinct is to like do more. Like, let me do more and more and more because I don't feel like I'm moving forward. And what I've learned is really like that instinct of like do more when you're overwhelmed is like the wrong thing to do. So it's better when you're overwhelmed to get into a mode of let me delete the things that don't fall into like two, maybe three categories. So the two categories for sure. Delete the things in your daily life when it comes to your business work that don't generate new leads. So focus on at least dedicating some time every day to lead generation, and then delete the things that don't also help you maintain your business or maintain your deals. So think lead generation and then like taking care of what you got. Do those two things and make sure you're doing really only those two things. If you're feeling overwhelmed, get rid of the things that don't fall in those categories, because all it's going to do is make your lead generation suck or not be as consistent, which means it's not going to be effective, which is going to make you further frustrated and overwhelmed. Or you're going to have, people that you're supposed to be following up with, deals that you need to like stay on top of so that they don't fall through. But because you're doing all these other things, they kind of start slipping, they get shaky, you have unhappy clients, you lose an opportunity to keep a deal together, and then now you're back at square one and maybe you just lost a client. So you want to be sure that that's not happening. Another thing that you can add in, so I know you're deleting the things that don't build your business via leads or that aren't helping you get deals closed by maintenance. You also can take time to work on your systems. So, this year for my team, we did a lot of looking at just our processes, where we could become more efficient, things that, when you're super busy, it's like that to-do list of, I do need to get my social media under control, or I do need to do this, this, and that. But you're so busy with, deals flowing and things are happening and popping off, so you don't do them. Now is a good time in that time of overwhelm is to say, let me delete everything that isn't really about new leads, getting deals closed. And then let me go back and just take some time, maybe every day, maybe it's every other day, and just start checking things off your list. Things that are in the back of your mind, taking up that space that make you feel like even worse. How when you have like something that you need to do and you're not doing it, you're procrastinating. And because you're procrastinating, it's like taking up space in the back of your mind and it's making you feel more and more like freaked out. It's a good time to go and just kind of piece by piece, take those pieces, check them off, check them off, check them off. So in this crap market, when things are slow and you're overwhelmed because you're trying to do more to generate business, the best thing you could do, get your leads under control with some daily process where you're doing something, at least one thing to generate leads. Do the things you need to do to make sure your deals close, and then go in there and work on those systems, because you're going to be so glad that you did one, but also it creates a sense of accomplishment, which we're going to talk about, in a minute too. But you want to have things run smoothly. When you put things through your processes, when it starts getting like, bogged down with some bullshit, it just makes you feel worse. So you might as well, when you have the time, dedicate a little bit of energy to that instead of trying to add I want to add a new, this and that. Delete all that. Just focus on these like kind of three key things. Okay. So next thing that I wanted to talk about is, how important it is for you to take care of you first. And I'm like a big believer, and you're going to learn this, as we go along, but I'm a big believer in like, get your workout done, get your self stuff done first thing in the morning. Like put you first, most definitely. Really trying to avoid getting straight into work right away, first thing in the morning. And I'm super I feel like a hypocrite even saying this because I'm super guilty of this even now. Like my husband is sitting in this room and I'm sure he's thinking, you're such a hypocrite. But it's so important to have the intention of every day before you get into your workflow, making you like your first project of the day. And this is not just about like, okay, the connection between looking and feeling good, but we should talk about it. So connection between looking and feeling good. You're going to sell a lot more. You're going to come across more confident. You're going to be more productive if you feel and look good, period. Like if you put on your clothes and they're now fitting a little bit better, or they're fitting how you want, or you're up and you're, got a little spring in your step and you're feeling fit and you're feeling strong and whatever that looks like for you. If you're in that mode, you are going to just have a better day. And by having a better day, it helps solve a lot of problems for you, like just being honest. So you want to take that time and make sure that that's your first priority. But something like even more just kind of interesting to think about is creating wins is something that I'm just such a huge believer in. And by doing like little self-care steps and then having it like a little check, like I did it, it creates the mindset of like, you're winning your day. And that is just something now, a theme that will permeate the rest of your day if you consistently do it enough. So, part of the priority of you in the morning isn't just about, again, looking and feeling good, but it's about creating a tone and creating an energy around what your day is going to be. And if you start off on this winning foot because you got your to-do list done, and your to-do list is things that you have total control of, which is what time you get up in the morning. What did you eat for breakfast? Did you take your vitamins, whatever supplements or whatever? Did you get to the gym or do your yoga or, whatever, go for your walk? It's things that you can quickly get done and check them off your list. You now feel and look better because of it. And it now is just going to create so much opportunity for you to then deal with difficult times, right? You're going to be more resilient in your day because you started off in a winning mindset and with winning activities. So that's the second lesson I wanted to talk about. Okay. The next one is around expectations. And, I'm a high achiever. I'm the type of person where every year I want to do better than the year before. Every year that comes up, I want to make sure I'm always like constantly getting better, constantly growing. And that relates to my business in particular. So this year, I'm not in that situation. The real estate market I think we had 20 to 30% fewer sales across like all the MLSs, which means my business is down 20 to 30%. Not the best feeling, but I've had to kind of get a little bit perspective and get a little bit real with myself with this, which is like, hey, what is the expectation? Like, are you ever really looking at real life? What is going on? Those things that are outside of your control, and then adjusting what your expectations are. And it sounds like so simple, but when you're like me, and I'm sure if you're listening to this or stumbled upon this, you probably do have like a driver type personality. You always want to be doing better than before. It's not natural for you to like want to stop and pause and look and say, okay, what does great look like today? Great doesn't necessarily mean always better than last year. Great really should be about the environment you're in and measured against what everyone else is doing. I mean, there's a lot of sense to that. So this year, I think one of the lessons that I learned and it helped me a lot was not necessarily looking at where I was at the same time last year when the market was popping off, but instead looking at what everyone else around me is doing and where do I measure there? And also looking at the market in general and saying, what is possible? In a market where sales are this much lower, what is actually reasonable to think for a team of my size and all that, blah, 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 blah. So you guys get the point. But, being able to pause and step back and get some perspective and say, listen, you're not always, every year isn't going to be a growth year. I mean, imagine that. So being able to have that ability to take a moment, realize that has been huge. So for you, like if this year hasn't been the same as, or as good as last year, make sure that you're taking a look at, your overall market or your overall environment, everything that has been going on, and make some adjustments. This doesn't mean make excuses for, if you're low performance because you haven't been taking care of business. Okay. That's one thing, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're out here you're putting in the effort, you've got some good systems, you've been executing, and still you're not where you were, it's probably time to take a look at the environment as a whole and make that adjustment, because there's nothing worse than walking around and feeling like you failed. And if you're walking around feeling like that, it's going to color you moving forward. It could. So it's important for you to realize that if you're walking around feeling kind of down about it, make sure you're evaluating it for what it is and being fair about it. All right. Okay. So the next thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about, this year and lessons learned and all that was like, man, the importance of having good partners, the importance of having good relationships. Everyone's a good friend and everyone's happy and in good relations when things are good. But when things are difficult, that's when it really is clear how important it is for you to have, a group of maybe it's a mentor, but I'm really big on like kind of a partnership type thing and peer groups and things like that. I have leaned on other team leaders like me so much this year for just like talking, about my last point about expectations. Prior to being in a difficult year, I was kind of just doing my own thing. I wasn't really like reaching out to people that much. I was kind of flowing. There's really no reason for me to feel like, I got to look around and see what else anyone else is like in this. Right. But I realized like, because I've had some really great relationships with other people like me, it has helped me so much to know, what are other people doing to help overcome certain challenges? What is normal? Again, back to the expectations thing. And, just honestly, not feeling so isolated. Like isolation is not it's not a powerful position to be in. It's fine, again, when things are flowing, but when things are not, it's really important to have people that you can reach out to and that are going to be inclined to have your back. And that they're in the same position as you and they mutually want you to succeed, because if you're succeeding, then it's possible for them to succeed too, right? There's that vibe of like, well, damn, if they can do it, I can do it. And you want to be in a group that has that belief so that you can, leverage each other's energy and belief. And when you're feeling down and when you're just kind of feeling out of it, you have someone else there that can kind of pick you up. So one of the things I think this year that I've improved a lot is just my relationships and my partnerships. And I'll be honest, I've been just really glad that, I've kept partnerships, even with like title and escrow, with lending, these other components that help you get your deals done. I'm so glad that I have fought for them, when times were good, because man, when times get tough, those are going to be the people too that fight for you and fight for your deals and help you get things through. And it's made just a huge difference. So, again, if you're listening to this and you're kind of like, you feel like, man, am I the only one that feels like this year has been like rough? No, you're not. But you also need to find people around you and kind of take that first step to reach out, ask, kind of compare notes, calibrate expectations, share ideas, and be the first one to share. Be the first one to share best practice. Be the first one to raise your hand and say, yeah, I got your back. Because that type of energy always comes back. In my experience, that type of energy always flows back to you in a positive way at some point. And, it's also a leadership energy. So you always want to be bringing that type of spirit to things, in my opinion. So yeah, power partnerships and relationships. And then, the last one is about something that I observed in my real estate community. So, I'm a part of the Arizona real estate community, and I know a lot of people. When you do a lot of deals, you get to know a lot of agents, and you get the benefit of go and speak at different places, and you meet people, and you kind of start seeing like the different habits and behaviors of like the community as a whole. And one of the things that I noticed this year in particular was there's a lot of instinct around like studying. There's a lot of instinct around like, okay, my business is slow, so I'm going to go back and, get some certification and blah, blah, blah. My business is slow, so I'm going to, go to all these different classes that the title companies are offering about, FHA loans and blah, 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 blah. And man, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I don't think I do not believe that is helpful if the desire is to do more business. So why do I think that? Well, because why do you need to know more about FHA loans when you don't even have an FHA buyer to help? You don't have it's kind of like a person who spends perpetual time in school and they're like a perpetual student and they never really get out there in the real world and have like a practical use for the knowledge they're getting. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing is just like, hey man, when times are tough, there is an instinct to sort of go into like pull your little turtle shell up and kind of revert back. Like, okay, I got an excuse, to not get out there and do business or figure it out or push through it or find a way to get new leads or find a way to make more relationships. And that excuse is I got school. And, because you can always say, oh, I got school, I got class, I've got continuing education. And people are kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. No worries. You can't make it. But to me, it's like, no, if you're listening to this and you've been doing this at least for a little bit of time, you have enough knowledge to help clients. And if you don't have knowledge on something like, the FHA loan or something, just using that as an example. But if you don't have the knowledge on that, guess what? A loan officer does. Or if you don't understand something about deeds and trust or whatever, well, that's what a title and escrow, person does. So I've never been like a huge believer that like as a real estate agent, real estate broker, you have to have this, endless spring of knowledge and facts. I think you have to know enough to be dangerous. And I think you got to know enough to know when you don't know. And as long as you got that, and then you have the right people to ask, you should be able to help 90% of the people, 99% of the people that need your help. So, when things have been slow, I've seen so many agents get back into this like learning mode instead of into the, okay, what's going to bring you new leads? So your daily leads, what are you going to do to take care of the business you got? And let's clean up some systems. They're not doing those things because they're in school. And so now it's like, as the market gets better, because, it's always cyclical. So, it's already starting to pick up again and improve. What do they walk away with? Well, they walk away with opportunity missed because while they were in school, other agents were cultivating leads that happen to be their friends and family that now have a new realtor contact. And, their systems still suck or still are clunky. So then when they finally do get a deal, it's going to run through and run like shit. And it's going to, leave a bad impression for the client or have some issues or hiccups that are just unnecessary. So again, everybody, you do you, baby. But, for me, when the time to learn is probably more on the job than, it is when you really should be out there figuring out why your business is so slow. So those are the things that, the other day when I was just kind of reflecting on this year, it's been a tough year. Like I said, what are the things that I walked away with and learned? I learned about, again, when overwhelmed, you got to focus on lead generation every day. You got to focus on taking care of the business you've got or the leads you've got. And you should do some system cleanup. I learned about the importance of why taking care of yourself first, especially first thing in the morning, sets a tone for a winning day. And why having that tone for the winning day is so important in your ability to be resilient. I learned about adjusting my expectations and not being like so, stupid as to not be like, hey, look around you. everything is tough right now. So of course this isn't going to be as good as last year, but that doesn't make you a shit person and like the worst business owner ever. So that was a good thing to learn. I saw the importance of the relationships that I had, and I really learned how to like lean into them and be a little more vulnerable and reach out and offer to help first. And, you know, just why all of that is just so important when it comes to hard times, but also like obviously good and good times too. You know, you'd want to have that be a habit if you're going to really be a leader of your business. And then how taking action, getting into action instead of being like studious and like, I'm going to go like retreat back to my books and my things and my classes until this blows over, but why that instinct is not going to help you, you know, grow your business. And as things recover, you're going to regret that you did that. So, you know, this is that. I hope that just these like 5 little tidbits kind of give you an idea of how I think and who I am. My plan with this is to have, you know, conversations like this, but also have people that have helped me along the way, people who I think are brilliant. Some of them in real estate, most of them not though. You know, that's the thing about when you learn about like the connection between your mindset and how you are, and then how it then is reflected back to you in whatever business you're doing. It's so cool because you can really start to apply, you know, knowledge and wisdom and just like little tips and little tidbits and little this and that little things. And it makes your business, whatever that is, so much better. So, you know, that's what we're going to be doing here every week. You know, I'm guessing this is going to come out after New Year's, which is cool. But Happy New Year. You know, I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to get, you know, to know you guys. And I'm just so grateful, you know, that you're listening. So that's it. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys next week.